All right, hello and welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging. We are playing Wandering tonight. We're continuing our Waking of Angmar campaign. We're getting near the end. We just completed our last fellowship phase. Our last probably meaningful fellowship phase is what I suspect is our march to Angmar will probably begin at some point this session. And then sort of the final stuff, and we'll see who comes back. As we learned in our game last night. I'm not afraid to take a few people out. I'm not afraid to throw a few punches. I'm all right. I'm okay doing it. So, and we're near the end too, so it's going to be even more meaningful when that happens.
It's going to be so sad.
Sad. Is it? I don't know. It kind of depends on who we take out, right? I think there's certain, there might be a
Jeff saying is okay, too. People taking it as if like a thing that everybody says about Jeff. It's like, no, he pulls his punches. That's the thing about Jeff, is that he goes really easy on people.
What is my reputation actually for that? I don't know. They're probably.
I would say you're fair, but tend to be on the challenging side.
Okay. Which I love, honestly. Okay. I was just teasing.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
I love it.
Oh, I actually kind of like that. That's probably a good place for it. See, yeah, okay. Well, Daggy can live. Daggit's gonna make it up. Well done, Steven. All right. So yeah, we're gonna keep going today. We're gonna do. I just told them right before we went live. Whatever they want to do, whatever business they think is still left to be concluded in Bree, now is the time to do it, because there is no guarantee that you're going to be coming back. And so yeah, that's where we're going to go. We're also going to touch in with Tara a little bit, see what she was doing during Yule. We'll presume then we're still effectively it's winter time still, because we're not going to meet up with your forces, your allies until the first thaw of spring. So we have some time. So again, whatever you want to do. But if you're done in 20 minutes and we want to just push on, then I'm fine to do that as well. But before we get into all that, why don't we just say hello to these characters once more, and then we'll get started. So Long, tell us about Floy.
Yes, I'm Floy, one of two dwarves, and I'm at my most valorous point at the moment, at 5 valor.
Wow. I realize that you're probably going Valor because of that one little ability that lets you add extra damage equal to your Valor. Yeah. Okay, Munchkin. You got it. That sounds good.
Munchkin.
Well, Munchkin is like another term for like
power giver.
Power giver. Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Today I learned.
I mean, that's long. She's assuming we play board games. All right. Next up, Ashley, tell us about Gilly Kettlegrass.
I am playing Gilly Kettlegrass. She is our Bree Hobbit. And she's a scholar. She's got 4 pips now in bows. So I'm really hoping to just continue kill stealing as that is get that final hit,
4 pips. That's so much. That's huge
expensive.
Investment.
Yeah, that was expensive.
Yeah. How many of you have 4 in something? 4 in a 4 pips in a weapon? Daggett,
I've got 4 in my axe.
I have an axes as well.
Floy and Daggett axe. Orinial sword?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Like that is a ton of XP to get all the way up to 4. The character sheet opens up to 6? I don't even. Whatever.
I can't imagine getting 5.
6 is.
I'm exhausted thinking of how long the campaign will have to be for us to get there. That's like I don't know.
The book content. Even says like 5 is like you're a master of your craft and like the best of the best.
Dope.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Next up, Melissa, tell us a thing or two about Orinial.
So Orinial is our champion ranger of the North in this party. As was just mentioned, I did during all of our fellowship phase goings on, increase swords up to 4. I do not have any individual skills at 4, though. Skills kind of top out at 3. And as we learned a few episodes ago, I have nothing in insight, and I still have nothing in insight. And the other thing I have nothing in is riddle. So those are the 2 parts of my character sheet that are completely blank. No pips in either of those. But she's decently good at some athletics, hunting, healing, battle, stealth, explorer stuff.
Very, very nice. How much? Actually, another question I had for how many points do you have left over right now? Having spent like adventuring points, skill points. Did anyone?
2 skill points, 3 adventure points.
Okay.
I have
pretty
3
efficient.
and 3.
3 and 3. Anyone?
7 and 1.
I have
2 and 3.
12 adventuring points that I need to spend on something.
Okay. Fair enough. So no one hit it right on the number. Because
No.
you get,
I've also been
like
keeping
a set of
track.
steak knives if you do that. So that's great.
I've also been keeping track, just in case anyone was wondering. And so far, we have accrued at least I have, because I think some things are a little different here and there. 140 skill points and 131 adventure points. Because I was
Nice.
just keeping a running total
That is a
as we've
lot.
been along the way.
Nice.
I want to say thank you to Mozzarelli for the raid. Appreciate it. We're just getting started. Perfect timing. We're just kind of going through character intros as we are getting very close to the end of the campaign. So we're getting very nostalgic. So we're like kind of going over some of that as we do our introductions. Let's kick it over to Daggett. Daggett, our captain, our leader. What more is there to say about Daggett, Stephen?
Honorary halfling as well. Daggett is a dwarf, born a dwarf, but adopted halfling. Become fast friends with Tolman, Gilly's dad. And
We have the
he's
paperwork
earned.
now.
I have a certificate,
Yeah.
honorary halfling. I've earned so much trust and respect in this group that I'm basically the de facto leader now, and I get to make all the important choices. They trust me with that.
Yeah, we learned last time that Daggett and Tolman Kettlegrass, Gilly's dad, boy, they're just good friends. They're great friends, and it's gonna be good if Daggett survives. I feel like you're just gonna be sleeping on the Kettlegrass's couch for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
What if we help him build his own apartment within like our family grounds?
He'd still probably end up sleeping on your couch. I think
That's
he'd
true.
Still probably head over there.
Oh,
Give him
one
a
more
dodge
thing.
arrow. Oh,
I have a Z-shaped nose now because it's been broken twice.
yeah. And it didn't get broken back into place. It just got broken further out of place.
He hit me from the wrong angle.
You probably have like the worst sense of smell. It just doesn't make any sense anymore to you.
And I snore
goodness.
so loud.
Yeah. Finally, this is probably what Tolman's thinking. Like, well, maybe if we let Daggett in here with his snoring, Gilly will finally move out. Oh, she's been here her whole life already. Come on now, something like that. And then finally, Tara. What is there to say about Tara? No, what is there to say about Tara? Tell us about Tara.
My name is Maitreyi, and I'm playing Tara for short, she, her, and she is a warden ranger of the north, and spent a bunch of XP, skill points and adventure points, up my valor. Up my wisdom, took the prowess virtue, and brought my strength target number down. And because not all rangers are brooding silent types like Strider, some rangers are like Gimli, and that's Tara.
absolutely.
So she is she's more of a brawler with her spear. Also took my persuade up, and that's the scenes with Hollis that both Renil and Jeff were speaking about, and that's sort of how I'm hoping to kind of message and work through that. I think that's about it.
Okay. Fantastic. So let's start up then. We are in the year 2967, about to turn over to 2968. It's about a little over 2 years since the campaign began. For your reckoning, this is the year 2968 when Frodo was born. Just throwing that out there, a little nugget of info. So there's that. But it's 2967 winter time. We'll say we're still in Yule time ish, give or take. You all, last time around, you said your goodbyes to the Ranger Haven. You had some final words and some promises from folks like Lady Aerosil that they were going to send forces. Gandalf tried to leave Daggett with some words of wisdom as he was leaving, but he was not going to be joining the fight as he had business elsewhere. Travel on the road is actually relatively free from danger, but not from distraction. As I think at one point Floy took a moment to steal a sword from a grave, which is always good. And some snow started to fall along the way, and then you made it back to Bree. Once you got there, Gilly, as we've already mentioned, took Daggett and Tara to meet her parents. Floy, you checked in with Rosa Goodborough, the very first quest NPC we had, the starter, good friend of Balin. You were going to help her at the very beginning of this campaign when it was only supposed to be 5 sessions long. And then Aurenial, just teasing, it was going to be longer. And then Aurenial, you checked in on Marge Oakstout, and both of you got some bad news. Both Floy and Aurenial heard some bad things. First, that in Coombe, Elise Briarcleave's condition, a lumberjack, a good friend of the party, her condition worsened. Last time you saw her, she was in terrible, terrible condition. Hollis Oakstout was able to fetch an elf, but it was far too late to get real help from Elisterion. And she sadly kind of turned into some sort of wraith or undead creature, attacked and killed Graham Sweetroot, maimed Alcott Sweetroot, who's been a longtime NPC within Coombe, who actually has helped heal in the past. And Hollis kind of took to drink because he blamed himself for this, as Elise was one of his dearest friends. As we've mentioned, Tara Aurenial had some words with Hollis and kind of at least got him for the moment to stop blaming himself so much. But you can tell that he's hurt by everything. There was some good times as you did spend some time with the Kettlegrasses at these kind of more casual holiday dinners. Daggett and Tolman, as we mentioned, became fast friends. They bonded over smoking the leaf and shooting arrows in the sky and trying not to get hit by them when they come back down. That's the game. That's what they do. You did some training as well. And I think Aurenial even traveled up to Archet to retrieve a special present for Gilly, a new bow. And so that's how you'll continue. And the first thaw is nearing, and you know that you are mustering your forces at Amonsul or Weathertop, which is about 4 days away from Bree. So I'm going to go ahead and just start it up. And you all tell me if there are things that you would like to do. And I'm going to start with you all. What will I be up to? You will say Yule, the actual holiday, is past. Winter is still here. There's still some reverie left. I would imagine that there's probably this sense of foreboding as this is coming. Like anxiety might be starting to kick up a little bit as you can tell with the holidays having passed. It's just a matter of time before winter breaks. What would everyone be up to in Bree as you prepare?
I would be coming out of winter, out of hibernation, pretty much. All this relaxation, being kind of rusty a bit. I'll start scouting out the Chetwood, the marshes, just get some training in.
Okay. Roll an explore test, actually, if you're going to spend... And this is all a montage over several days, maybe a week or two. But you're welcome to make an explore test, absolutely.
Great success.
Okay, so it's actually kind of very grim as you explore. As you all heard about a year ago or so, that there was, from Hollis specifically, that like drowned dead were starting to rise up within the swamps, the marshes, and they have. And it's become a much more dangerous place than it's always been. And now there always was the occasional troll, certainly some goblins and some other creatures that might shift around the marshes. But the fact that like with a greater level of boldness than has been seen, at least in recent times, for those who are old enough within Bree to recall the last few decades, there has been more than one story that has been passed along by folks who are maybe traveling outward to fetch some herbalist ingredients, or just people traveling maybe along the Great East Road. There's not that many travelers at this time of year, but you do hear some things, and you probably hear some stories from folks prior. As you physically go about doing it, it's still cold. There's still snow on the ground. and more than once you can see that there are ruins that are half sunken within the marshlands. And at night or in the evening, you can see that some denizens kind of stir up from the lake here and there. You can't tell if they're specter, they're corporeal. It's kind of hard to say. You are a seasoned enough warrior that you know how to scout. I would say with the this type of thing. So you're not necessarily going to get ambushed or anything, but you see it more than once, and that they seem to be lingering and moving around. At Chetwood, also fairly grim news, as Elise Briarcleave was the most knowledgeable of that place. She was a lumberjack. She had a cabin in the woods. You even know that Auriniel was living within the home of Talendil and Marimbem. A little bit further, a little bit deeper into the woods. None of that is really reachable anymore, as there have been dangers that have been growing. The shadow is growing long. Stories about lumberjacking crews going out for firewood for the winter to store, getting attacked. Some say goblins, some say the shadows themselves. Some hear voices. It's all very grim, and it certainly is this constant undercurrent that comes up in conversation, whether you're drinking with dwarves and travelers in the dwarf house, whether you're in the Prancing Pony, whether you're in the Coombe and Waddle, whatever inn or tavern that you might be just in common company with, you hear just as many stories about these types of incidents. Rumors here and there. Some of them, like fish stories, they might be a little bit more grandiose, but you've seen some evidence that they might be based in fact.
I would just spend days going back and forth, trying to maybe clean up some of the areas, take out some of these ghouls.
I'll say with your Kobar's cleaver there, with the Bane of the Undead on top of it. I mean, if you're doing this by yourself, you're probably not going to take on a whole mass of these or clear an entire ruin, but certainly there's more than once that we can see Floy coming in contact with some ancient, or not even ancient, just decades old poor sot who just happened to sort of pass away within the marshes, or maybe some denizen from the Forsaken Inn who just wandered off one night and got drunk and taken out by something in these marshes. But more than once you encounter this crawling dead. Brainless, mindless, not nearly as savvy as some of the creatures that she fought. I mean, after facing a Nazgul, these things go down much more simply. But we'll say, yeah, you're able to kind of take out a few here and there, at least push them back away from the roads a little bit further. But unless it was a full-on endeavor, there are probably still a decent number of those things inside. What else are people doing as Yule fades, winter lingers but threatens to break? What else are people doing?
Daggett would be preparing his gear, most of all, starting with Blockfang, sharpening, oiling, redoing the leather on the hilt, that sort of thing. And then he would move to his armor. And one of my key items is cloth padding for my armor. So I would be redoing that, making sure that the padding is newer, it's not as frayed or torn. It's going to continue to keep the armor as quiet as possible. And then he would be looking for like polish or paint or something like that, just to like stop the reflectiveness of the metal as well.
Absolutely. There are, even though it's wintertime, there's still business to be had within Bree, especially. The sort of the normal section of the city where we can usually see like this expanse of green, children playing. It still exists. There's fewer merchant stalls that are out because there's not as much material that is prepared. But there is very much activity here. As people are trading for the winter what they can. So you're able to track down some of these things from craftsmen and folk who are doing repairs or who are trying to fulfill some orders, things like that nature. When you sit down, whether it's in the confines of a of the kettle grasses. Maybe you're given a place to stay, or maybe you joined Floy at the dwarf house. Kofi is more than happy to give you a room. There is space. And you are tending to your equipment. Especially when you are attending to old Blockfalm. You're sharpening, you're trying to apply some of this substance, this kind of almost like an epoxy of some kind, maybe something to cover and kind of clean out some of the shine. You can't help but notice the flickering of your lantern light that makes it a little bit, that kind of just comes out of nowhere, and you realize time has passed, a lot more time than you remember. More than once while you're sharpening the blade, you hear voices. They're all very indistinct. You think for a moment it might be somebody in the neighboring room, but then your eyes just kind of linger for really a long time at the surface of the blade. And while you're trying to get rid of that reflectiveness, some is still there. And when you look down, you can see your face staring back at you. And as you do, the shadows, maybe the light from the lantern, make it change. The beard kind of grows longer and more frayed. Your eyes become sunken so much, so dark, that it's just this pool of black. No sclera, no iris, nothing. The nose even straightens out for a moment, flattens a bit. And you realize just for the briefest second, there is a foreign face staring back at you. And with a start, everything resets and you can see yourself once more.
I recognize the face.
You do not, unfortunately.
Okay, well, like any good dwarf, I'm going to take that information and bury it deep down and pretend it didn't happen.
I feel like you're playing a dwarf like a classic man from 1957. Wonderful. You're going to go get a scotch on the rocks, sits down. It's great.
I'm 109. I'm a boomer dwarf, is what it is.
The Mad Men
9
dwarf,
is
I
not
love it.
boomer. That's like Gen Xer. It's like a Gen Xer. Dwarves can push 200, man. What are you doing? Okay. Who else is doing something as Yule fades, as winter threatens to finish? What else are we doing to prepare, to say goodbye? What are we doing?
I thought I saw Renil unmute, so I can go after her.
Go ahead.
I over the month, Tara has been spending time with us. Really like. This the kind of thing that like really messes with her, like on a personal level, like seeing someone so broken in their humanity. So she's feeling very compelled to spend some time with them.
He will. I mean, Nico will gladly accept your company. You probably at some point meet the wonderful, the renowned Marge Oakstout, who, I would say, much to Auriniel's chagrin, actually demonstrates some warmth and kindness towards Tara. Doesn't assign you tasks to complete. It's a very peculiar experience, as you might have heard stories about what a battle axe this woman is. She's so mean.
Yeah.
And she's got an edge to her. But like, and a friend of mine, my dear son, is a friend of mine. Are you thirsty, lass? You coming out of the winter. It's too cold outside. And so she like invites you in, actively does, and serves you. She like brings you over some hot tea. Like, I'm not the
my expression is what Iridiel's is right now.
I'm not the greatest of bakers, but I'll place together a couple little bits of snacks for us. Left over. I'll try to be festive with them. And she puts them like a little plate. There's cookies. There's like colorful sprinkles and stuff.
I only ever get different kinds of dried meat. This is and whatever fruit I can find on the trees. So I've
got plenty of meat. We got dried meat. Is that what
No, this is wonderful. Do you have any more and anything more, pastries, cookies. 'Cause I never get anything
course.
like that.
No one ever asked me to bake for them. They all just... No one... It's a pleasure to have you here, Tara. Of course, I've got so many. And she just runs to the kitchen, comes back,
Big smile.
plates of cookies and stuff that she's dropping down in front. I like to think, if it's okay with Aurelial, you stop by one of these days, door opens,
Sure.
there's
Just
Tara,
crumbs.
crumbs on her plate, and Marge looks up at you. What do you want?
Oh.
This is my friend Ari. Do you know Ari?
Is that her name? Your name's Ari? I don't know her name.
What?
She never tells me her name. She just comes
It's
over.
Aurelial. I've mentioned it, but yes, this is my friend Tara. You seem
You're
to have
friends with
met.
Tara? You
Yes.
are
Yeah.
friends with this one?
Have you tried her cookies? They're so good. Is there nutmeg? I feel like I'm tasting nutmeg.
There is nutmeg and cinnamon. Yes?
You baked cookies?
Yes, why is that such a surprise? Her voice just like literally shifts when she turns to talk to Aurelio.
I'm so glad to see that Tara is eating your cookies. That's so great.
You need to try one of these. Oh, I have this one. Is shaped like a man. What are these? It's shaped like a man.
I just the little hobbit folk. I thought they would
Oh,
be
yeah.
festive.
Ari,
so
try one of
friendly.
these. So good.
This is quite artistic.
The holiday hobbits is what I call them.
Wow, that's so surprising. And
She's looking at you with really squinting eyes.
breaks the leg off and eats it. Is it good? Does it taste good?
Tara
You
likes
tell
them
me
a
already.
lot. Tara likes them a lot.
This is wonderful. This is delicious. Quite delicious. But she can't get rid of the surprise. Like she's trying to tamp down the surprise in her voice and she just can't. This is quite wonderful. This is quite wonderful.
I don't know why you sound so surprised.
It's been quite a while since we have had the time to dedicate to baking. It's quite lovely.
What?
And-
Her name was Martha? Is that what you said?
Marge.
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 She turns around. I'm going to say you
sorry.
said it out loud. Like, oh, it's Marge, Tara. Stop it. You know my name.
Oh,
You literally get her
Marge.
name wrong. Doesn't matter.
You know what? I was saying how we never get anything except dried meat and whatever fruit we can find. So this is beyond a treat for us. So, if you're seeing surprise on Aurelia's face, that's probably what it is.
We went weeks where all we ate was berries. We had a hunter in the group who would go out and would always bring back berries. It was just berries for weeks. These baked goods are just.
I don't have any berries, if that's what your angle is here.
No.
It's not
no,
berry season.
No. Tara, it was lovely seeing you.
Okay,
Tara,
bye.
I
This
think
is a
I
mouthful of
had-
cookie.
somewhere Renio can see very clearly that she is not welcome here.
So you leave.
She will,
Eventually,
though, steal
yeah.
a cookie on the way out. One of
Roll
the
a
other
stealth test. No, just kidding.
hobbit cookies.
Yeah, no, it's fine. You so you leave. At some point, Hollis will come out looking worse for wear, but like Marge is definitely tending to him, keeping him busy, asking him to do this or that. Whenever the two of you spend time, like he's always pushing to go to one of the inns. He's always pushing to go to the pony, the Kuman Waddle. He even mentions like, the Forsaken Inn. Even he's even willing to go there, though. Watch where you put your your fineries when you head there.
Yeah.
But he's always
Yeah.
pushing to go there. And I don't know how Tara would handle that, whether she...
So no,
acquiesces, or-
she's at least the first few times she's very willing to go. She won't go to the Forsaken Inn, and she's like, no, let's go somewhere nicer. And it kind of steers them towards a place that's not the Forsaken Inn. And but the first few times at least, like she definitely goes with. The conversation, I think, is very similar to that first night, where he blames himself and for a lot of things, and Tara doesn't dissuade him. It's like, yeah, it was your fault. You should be better. You should have done better. It's our job to die protecting people, and you didn't. And it's, yeah. If there's anything to beat yourself up, this obviously the more appropriate language, but essentially, if there's anything to take yourself to task to, it is that you are putting yourself in a position to no longer be the best you can. You are drinking, you are making yourself unbearable to be around. You are pissing off all the patrons here who are just trying to take a load off after a long day's work. So not only did you not live up to your professional, the things you were supposed to do, but you have no personal integrity anymore either. So she's like, yeah, you kind of suck and you need to get better.
Tough love.
That's kind of her approach.
I love it. Let's do... I mean, I want to do a roll. We'll see how he takes this. We could do it in Hearten, which strangely enough I think would make sense in that case. Persuade would also be fine.
I'd love to persuade if you don't mind.
Of course.
Because
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to trying to push up. Okay. Sir, bear with me 1 second. I actually really want to succeed on this, so does people mind if I take an audience dice?
Go for
right
it.
ahead.
Hashtag tough love Tara. Tough love Tara.
I think Tolkien Purist dropped us some bits at the very beginning. I think he
Hell
wants
yes.
them. So
So
A lot of
26
as well.
total with 1 6.
okay, that is a fantastic success. Great success. I would say his initial reaction is definitely one of defensiveness.
Yeah.
And
How could I not be?
multiple times throughout the conversations, like he tried, like he was like, "What do you mean? You're over. No, that's not what it is. No, it's not. It's just that." And then he keeps trying to offer excuses, and at a certain point, he notices he kind of probably comes to the realization, like, well, I sure do make a lot of excuses for all of my mistakes, don't I? Maybe I just gotta start owning up to the ones I've made, and maybe be smarter so I don't make a lot of the same ones in the future. You think?
I think so. I think your biggest problem right now is not the mistakes you made, it's the wallowing.
I know.
Everyone makes mistakes.
I'm just not... I don't know, it's just... Whenever I had problems before, whenever I was upset, when they threw me, when Pickthorn threw me out of the wardens and cast me out into the marshes, there was always a place I could go to and I could talk to, and before I wallowed too far and spun down the spiral, she was there to catch me and make sure I don't I don't keep getting so morose, but she's not here no more, and not here to do that. And part of the reason she's not here is me. And so it's very confusing. Because I miss her, because she's my friend. But I miss her because she made me better. Does that make sense?
Does. And any other time I would say, let me try and be, well, not Elise, I would never be able to be Elise, but let us keep talking. But the end of this month, I need to leave for Angmar.
Yeah, I know.
But maybe we can spend time until then.
All right. That's fun, but we don't got to talk about this all the time. Like,
I really, really would rather not.
all the feelings talk.
No.
Uncomfortable. Let's talk about other things.
It's enough. I think we've made our point.
So we just see
There's
the camera.
Have you played Dodge Arrow?
So we fade out of there as other conversations are introduced. Gilly or Reniel, any final business that you have here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like Aurenial, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the cabin kind of close to Oswald Breaker's?
No, it's not. And Reniel probably wouldn't be able to make it out to the cabin, I would say, in the winter. And with what Floy has learned, it's a very dangerous place actually out there right now. Yeah.
Darn.
So
Okay.
you could definitely go out there, but I'm going to ask for some rolls, and there's going to be some danger associated with it. But you can do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gilly, though, she does spend her days probably at Oswald's over the series of time, and then basically doing what she did previously, where she's basically transcribing everything new that she's discovered since she's last been at his house. So he has a copy of it, apologizing to Oswald and Miss Alcott.
Mm-hmm. Alcott's sweet root. Yeah.
Yeah. And then just spending time with her. And then in the evenings, her and her mom and whoever else is available is spending time preparing all of the rations and stuff that we'll need on our adventures. So I imagine they've kind of turned Gilly's apartment almost into a dry room. So there's just strings of meat everywhere hung above the hearth in her apartment. And then her kitchen table that she has in there is just covered with other dry goods and stuff that they've prepped and prepared together.
And when you check in with Oswald and Alcott, you can tell Alcott's been staying there. Oswald has been, she has no home. So not just that her husband was killed, you can see that her hand, her main hand has been horribly maimed. She's lost a few fingers, and you can see that it was kind of cut down the middle as well. So she's struggling here and there. She doesn't blame you, but you can tell she's in, she tries to put on a brave face, but she's extraordinarily sad. But she's, she seems determined to try to live a life. Oswald, as you know, is a widow himself. Mm-hmm. And in the beginning of the campaign, he was known to be a bit of a recluse, and not only that, but kind of a grumpy one. And people didn't really like to spend a whole lot of time. But over the course of the last couple of years, as you all have come into his life, and in doing so have brought folks like the Sweet Roots and others into his life, Balin has spent time there as well. You can see that a lot of the hardness that he once had, he's a much kinder man, but not necessarily the kindness, sunshine. But he's a much kinder man, and he dotes on her a little bit here and there. He'll fetch this, fetch that, open jars. He's often trying to make food, which he's not accustomed to doing for anyone but himself. Mm-hmm. And you know that he has also been he's been writing a book, and he's been and you knew this already, he was already trying to work on writing books about Arnor and the successor kingdoms, Arthedain and Carlin and Rudar, etc. And he's taken some of the things that you've learned, the lore that you've learned, your ability to kind of connect him with some other intelligent folks that have passed through. But his own, interestingly enough, his own endeavors have certainly slowed as he's turned his attention away from his studies and more towards like being personable and helping out his friend. Mm-hmm. You do also know that I think you've told him, or I'm sure you would have told him about the library down in Tharbad.
Yes.
And he is very interested in trying to. One of his other things that he's been doing lately is trying to find stories about restoring or redeeming wraiths or something like that, putting the dead to rest. And he hasn't really had much success. And so he probably muses maybe when you return, the two of you could travel down there sometime. Yeah.
In preparation, in case she doesn't, she does leave a letter for him to present to Agna.
Agna? Yeah, that's right.
And just because Gilly and her became such fast friends, introducing him as one of Gilly's personal friends.
Okay.
To hopefully smooth the bridge for him.
He gets a little choked up at that. He's like, this is clearly not going to be necessary because you're going to be returned and you're going to come down and make the introductions yourself.
Of course, precautions is all.
In case I want to go sooner, is what you mean?
Yes, in case you can't wait for me to return.
There we go. That's better. Good. All right.
And, when I do return, if expansions are needed, I could assist with that as well. For the house?
Expansions? No. Don't be, we have plans in the spring to perhaps. There's several of us who are gonna pitch in and rebuild what Alcott had. This is a friend doing a kindness for a friend who did a kindness in return for me when I lost my dear wife, and I am now doing the same. And there's nothing more than that. But there's several of us.
Time, I want to help as well.
Would leave some chores for you for when you return.
Thank you.
Shall we fade out of that? Aurenial, final business.
After I have gotten myself some updated snowshoes for the season, she will try them out and trek out to the cabin.
Yeah, you go to that same marketplace that Daggett's in. Someone comes up to you like, we've got new models in. You can see that we've used not one but 2 layers of lacquer to give it that extra shine, that wonderful extra shine, so that you're not going to get as much grime build up on the outside. And not only that, but feel the weight of the wood. Feel it. It's lighter, isn't it? It's so much lighter. It's lighter on your feet, but it doesn't mean it's lighter on the snow. You got me? So it's still going to be just as effective, but it's not going to wear you down as much. These are really good design. These really represent an advancement in snowshoe design. Well, we're thinking of sending them out to various other places. We've got interested investors over in Rivendell, if you can believe it. You would think, hey, the elves are so very light. But now, sometimes the snow up on those misty mountains off to the east is so thick they need something else to aid them. And I would think that these here snowshoes would be perfect for a ranger of your kind. One who's traveling about, a woman of action, a woman of adventure. You never know when you're going to need them. And if that's not enough to sell you on them, not only can they be used as shoes, but in that rare case where you come up against one of them slavering goblins and your sword's over there, your knife's over there, you take one of these things and you whack them upside the head. And they're sturdy enough to stay together. They won't splinter on you. But of course, if they do splinter on you, very sharp they're being. You can just stab them right in the eye. You see, we've thought of everything that you would need.
You really have thought of everything. I do believe, as you know, I've been here multiple times for new snowshoes. I do believe I fashioned them into a trap one time, as was needed after they were broken. So they have been quite useful. I must say, though, myself as a ranger, I don't actually take fatigue while journeying, so the heaviness is less of a feature for me that I would get a benefit from. But I believe that for the elves, that would be fantastic. That would be really a great feature for them. They would very much appreciate that.
That's very great. I'm so glad to hear it. Wonderful. Well, you don't take fatigue. It is what it is. It's fine. But we do
the craftsmanship here.
We do take silver and barter. That's what we take, and we'll take whatever you got.
Silver. I do have silver for you, and this has just been wonderful. The craftsmanship here is just great, and I do hope that perhaps even next year I can see what you've cooked up with the new model.
We've got great plans for next year. We're going to be doing something a little bit special, something that adds a touch of aesthetic flair to these things. We're going to do a line of colours. Yeah? We've got some dyes and some pigments. Okay, we bought them from some dwarf merchants who swung by some of the elves out west. And what we're going to do is we're going to lacquer them up and we're going to get them all sorts of different colours so people can personalise and they can enjoy themselves. What do you think of that?
Well, yeah. I believe that there are people who wear snowshoes and want to be seen while wearing snowshoes, and that is who you market that to. Some people don't want to be seen and they're wearing the snowshoes to be quiet and kind of blend in, so they would probably not. Although if you can paint it white, that would blend right in.
Make it,
no color snowshoes.
It's almost like you just. Oh, this is a great idea. I thank you very much. Discount if I can take that idea for you and use it. All right. That's a loyal customer.
No need for
return next year. We'll save you a prototype. Is what we'll do.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so very much.
Oh, fantastic. Well, enjoy them. I hope they serve you well.
Thank you. Good deal to you.
All right. Anybody else have any last lingering business? No is a perfectly acceptable answer. I just wanted to give you all an opportunity. Go ahead, Daggett.
Is it okay to swap out a useful item?
Absolutely. It's part of the fellowship phase.
That's what I just did. Fishing net for snowshoes.
Yep. Gotcha. So if anybody wants to switch something out and just to reiterate, I'm not sure if my trade has ever really had to worry about this too much, but like useful items, it's not like there's a finite list of what they are. If there's something that you can come up with, just say what it is. Useful items, they're very narrow, like they're very specific, and they can be used to essentially get a bonus die on a roll. So snowshoes are what for Explorer. I think you use them for Renewal. Is that right? Use your snowshoes for Explorer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like my rope and hook is good for athletics.
And you get a number of useful items that corresponds to your status of living. So wherever you're at on that chart.
Can I
standard of living? Excuse me.
Give that some thought and have something identified before next session? Is that okay?
Yeah. I don't.
Okay.
Looking at the time, I don't. Yeah, I think we'll probably still have some time for that because I don't think we're going to be able to finish the full journey tonight. We might get it started, but I don't think we're going to finish it.
Okay. If something comes up during play, I'll just identify it then and there.
That's fine.
I can't think of anything right this second. I don't want to hold up the game.
Right. I would like to swap out a useful item then. It won't be too long. But Daggett, being the very communicative and in touch with his emotions dwarf that he is, modern dwarf, he is going to leave a note for Tolman instead of actually saying goodbye. And it would be written probably on the back of one of Gilly's pages of some sort, maybe torn out of a book without asking her, in very crude handwriting. And it would be addressed T-Man. This pipe means a lot to me. I don't want to lose it in Angmar. please hold on to it. Daggett. And I'm going to roll my Snagit stone pipe up in there.
Steven, that was delightful. I like that very much. We'll
Great.
we'll have a future scene of Tolman unwrapping it, looking at it. Tiny little flicker of tear builds up in his eyes, but then he's like, "Well, don't really want to go to race. He wouldn't want me to waste it." And then he puts it in his mouth and he starts lighting it up. Classic Tolman. T-man. Okay. Anything else? Aurelian, you had mentioned something about maybe wanting to go to the cabin. Was that something you were still interested in doing?
Yeah, so I'm thinking that this was sort of in concert with kind of Gilly working on kind of drying up a bunch of meats and stuff. So Aurelian's kind of going out doing some hunting, kind of there and back to just make sure we're as fully stocked as possible.
Roll a hunting test. See how well you do. And see what game is like as well.
Okay.
The healthy thud of Norse Foundry metal dice.
Right.
Fire.
We love it.
I love it.
Yeah, I still got
ASMR.
Great success.
I got a set picked out that I'm gonna grab because I wanted some new Delta Green dice. Great
Hell
success.
Yes.
So, Aurelian, you're traveling about the Chetwood. It's several days. It's game is a little bit scattered. Mostly, you're seeing like snow hares, small things like that. You do periodically see tracks, hooves of considerable size, and you are face down one day with very little light. Just a little bit coming through the trees. There's not a ton of vegetation left on some of these trees, but it's kind of a gray, overcast winter day. And you catch sight of these tracks once more, and they lead you circuitously through this forest, which I would say that you feel this instinctive, unsettling feeling. Like there's something about this place that has grown darker to you. Like it's just something that you can sense, and you're a little bit more on your guard. Whereas in the last, year to two since Talendale and Marambem took up time here, Elise was working regularly, and so you had so many people who were regularly. It almost was starting to feel like a safer and safer place where the worst dangers were, a stray wolverine or or fox or something like that might be a little bit rabid. But nothing so grandiose as like trolls or goblins but of late, and especially now, it feels a little different. But there is this moment of like this stray bit of sunshine that comes down, and you see ahead of you on a hill, overlooking what looks like a frozen pond. You see that there's very large elk. You see it's got these beautiful, grandiose antlers coming out in this almost perfectly symmetrical pattern. And it's just staring off at this point, not at you, but you would think just off northward somewhere. And the sun is just hitting it. You're not sure if it's just basking in that bit of sun for a moment or not. But you've been moving up very quietly, and you have a shot.
Aurelian will take the shot.
You let loose an arrow. It flies. There's a touch of a whistle. And you never see the elk's face because the arrow just embeds right into its neck. This perfect shot. Swift, merciful, instant death. And it collapses. You're able to go over, dress to kill as best you can. You're able to bring that very large elk, and it is not an easy trek back, actually. It takes you a quite considerable time. Darkness eventually starts to fall. You have to shoo away various smaller scavengers, predators, things like that are potentially hinting, smelling the blood on the ice. But you do eventually get it back to Coombe and into Bree. Because once you get to Coombe, you can grab a small cart from Rosa Goodborough or something like that. And you have a very, very bountiful bit of, food here. When the morning comes after that, you guys look out and you can see that there's some crowds forming here and there, and people kind of talking and on the streets, and you realize you can actually see the streets as the sun has begun to melt, or excuse me, the snow has begun to melt. The sun is up much brighter than the past. There's still the residue of snowfall here and there, but it certainly seems as though winter at long last is actually broken. You can see off to the east, the sun is rising, not just over the misty mountains, but over the weather hills, where the ruins of Amansul Weathertop currently lie, where you're supposed to be mustering at the first thaw in spring with your forces. So, eventually you all meet together, you get your beat and root, and the other one?
Boot.
Food, I don't know. Newt, something.
It's boot.
It's boot. And you get maybe a small cart. You pack up your things, your belongings, say your goodbyes. There's a tearful exchange with Pym, Kettlegrass, Tolman. As the two of your parents bid you farewell. They're very happy to also take time to stress to Ariniel and Floy and Tara. Unfortunately, not Daggett, as he is dodging the Kettlegrasses to make sure
he stayed at the dwarf house, I think, the travel house the night before.
Yeah. They're stressing that you best bring my girl home. You hear me? I'm entrusting her to you. This is not one, but two, but three trips to this dire, horrific place. She better return.
I'm sure she'll be bringing me home.
Well, I would like to see you too, Mr. Floy. I would indeed. And you see that fella Daggett of yours? Well, you tell him I want to see him as well. You hear me? All of you.
You will.
Okay.
I imagine this is while Gilly is inside, like grabbing her last of her things, and she walks out and her parents pretend like she wasn't just lecturing the group.
That sounds good. Yeah, I figure he's like talking traffic now. Yeah, you're just gonna take the Great East Road east for I don't know, 20 miles or so, and it'll be right there on your north. Like he's telling you guys how to get the weather. So
yeah, Gilly looks like she's
less
clearly
traffic
been
that
crying.
way for sure.
If you hit a sign with the yellow plunger, you've gone too far.
Gilly's
Now, you
pretending like she
definitely-
hasn't just
go ahead.
cried her heart out as she gives
Yeah.
her parents another hug.
Oh goodness! And you all travel across Bree. There's no fanfare. No one really knows. I mean, like you're not like these big, massive heroes in Bree. Like you know some people. Wave here and there to a merchant vendor in the market. The stall guy for the snowshoes gives you a big thumbs up, Ariniel. And
Jeff, I'm so sorry for the useful item before we leave Bree. I've actually taken maps.
Okay.
So I swapped out bomb for maps.
Okay, sounds good. Now you all have made this trek before. It's a 4-day travel from Bree to Weathertop, and it's not difficult to travel. I'm not going to require us to start the journey just yet, so instead we'll just do this a little bit more narratively. As right around the morning of your second day of travel, as you're heading eastward along the road, and you're seeing how all around you the winter has definitely started to fade. You can tell too that there's more activity on the roads as well. You're seeing some other carts and some merchants at the dwarf house, Floy and Daggett. You've seen some of these dwarves that have been staying here in Bree, wintering, or getting ready to leave once more, some westward, some eastward. Along the way, though, you pass by like this familiar sight for some of you. You've seen it before. You see this ramshackle wooden hovel that at first glance looks just like a rotting cabin on the side of the road. And you see that there is a steady stream of smoke coming up out of what looks like a kind of a busted chimney. You can see that there is a group of fairly unsavory looking characters standing out front. A couple of which look very familiar to a few of you. As you pass by, you see this very tall man. Not much hair on his head. You can see that they've given him some kind of eye patch, it looks like. That's covering one of his eyes as he's looking down, but there's a lot of discoloration on his face. And he takes a step out onto the road, kind of to block you all, and a few others come with you. They're like, okay, now, if you're all looking to pass by, there's a new toll that's going to have to be paid and all the pest. New laws for the foreseeable future, for the spring. And anyone passing with business along the Great East Road here, passing by this wonderful inn, is going to have to pay some sort of fee here, or hand over a percentage. After all, we do such a fabulous job, as you can see, of keeping the road intact. And maintenance is, well, the price of it is quite steep. And you realize, Gilly, as you're standing a few feet from him, that a very long time ago, you met this man, as you guys were originally investigating these hillmen. He's a fellow by the name of Buckle, who got a dose of something in his face by Lottie. You tried to help his blindness to a degree, but didn't do a very good job, and it looks like only one of his eyes has made it through. You see standing near him are a couple other folks that look kind of familiar. You've seen them here and there, but they're all kind of, none of them are even remotely could even harm a single one of you. Like, they have no idea what they're dealing with right now. You see, there's this kind of a husband and wife. They're very, very thin. Like, they had a rough winter. Like, they probably didn't get a lot of food. And you realize as you're staring at them, some of you recognize them as Ruddy and Bev. These kind of con artists, but they did give you some good information a while back. They don't seem to recognize you, however, but they look at you very greedily and very hungrily, as if they are a little desperate. Buckle, too, at the same time, looks to be very, very gray, very ashen, unhealthy. How do y'all want to handle this?
Taxes under whose orders?
That would be our proprietor, Jack. He's inside the establishment, of course, making arrangements for proper maintenance shifts. Master Dwarf.
All of you. We've done this before. You may not remember us. It's been a few Yules since we first met. We were there just after that happened to you, Mr. Buckle.
Roddy and Bev, right?
They all kind of exchange looks.
I know you. I don't think I know you. You don't look like faithful on now. Nah, I would remember if I knew you.
Is one of the women behind Buckle
bought you guys a couple drinks. You guys had a wonderful conversation.
Many people have wonderful conversations with us because we're very wonderful conversationalists. So you're going to have to narrow it down for a little bit more.
Really not good conversationalist, but it was the redheaded woman who did that damage to that eye. And we met you just after that happened.
I think our retribution of killing her for you is sufficient enough payment, don't you think?
So, like, you see Ruddy kind of speaks up.
That does sort of... That is the right of it, I think. It was that red-haired woman. That was a while ago, to be honest. I don't really remember a whole bit around at that point.
You can see Buckle's kind of,
I didn't see a single thing. So I don't know it was you. But I do know that whoever it was that tried to tend to my eye did a very piss-poor job is what they did. So if anyone knows recompense, I think it's you. I can't even open my other eye. And he flips it back, and you can see that the lid is kind of merged and sort of melted with the underside, and he just can't open it. This is what you did. You know? The other one healed just fine.
No, I'd have to say that's what the red-headed woman did to you, unfortunately. That powder
it's
she
what
blew
you
in your
did.
face.
It's what you did. You tried to help. I remember it quite clearly now. It's coming back to me very, very clearly. There were big fumbling hands trying to dose around and fix my eye and just made it worse, they did. Oh, I think you're going to pay double is what I think is going to happen. That seems like the only kind thing to do. After what you've done to my eye...
I think us killing Lottie is sufficient.
Would you like
The
some
redhead
food?
woman, Lottie, the one I got this axe from, and I stand it down in front of me and just rest on it.
You did kill her. You took that from her.
I did.
She was asking about
Wasn't
that.
able to hold on to it, let's just say.
She didn't have that when she was here, but she was asking about that thing. All sorts of questions. I don't like that thing. It gives me the... Nah. She said that she was going to raise the dead with that. She did. That's what she said. Are you some sort of necromancer or something? Raising the
I've
dead
never
with
raised the dead, but I've certainly added to their ranks with it.
Roll, let's see. Roll an awe test with a bonus because of the presentation of Block Fong.
Let me double check, make sure I don't have anything for awe. I don't think I do.
That tracks.
That is a regular success.
Right. We will call it even. You can all go on your way. They step aside. Go right
We're
ahead.
also expecting a few friends to be traveling along this road. They're going to meet us a bit further up. I would hate for them to have to pay taxes. I think they would pull me back here to find a refund. We wouldn't want that, would we?
No, I don't think we would.
Excellent.
And you see Ruddy and Bev and Buckle, they're all kind of going back like,
No, what are you doing? What are you doing? Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't mess with that one. Don't worry. From what I heard about that thing, what Lottie said it could do, it's gonna get him in the end. Don't worry. He's confident now.
and he's like whispering this as you guys are walking away.
He's confident now. Look at him. He's the poor sot. He doesn't even realize it.
Renil's going to kind of appear behind them.
Batman style.
Does not appear that you had a good winter, and she'll kind of pull some kind of dried meats from her bag, and she'll kind of hand those over to them.
Charity. Don't need your charity, Ranger.
We just took, you agreed to not thieve those that walk past. That's coin out of your pocket.
Just call it payment. It's just say you're paying the toll. He's very insistent on that.
This is our toll.
That's better. Yeah, I'll take it then. Off with you.
He steps back. As you all are just traveling past. Eventually, the Forsaken Inn is out of sight. The road that you're on is the further away that you get from Bree, the less maintenance has been done on it. It's not kind of well kept, particularly. There's a sort of a long northward undulating ridge that kind of travels on and down, and you can see that its tallest rise a few days later is Weathertop. And you can see it just to the north. You can see there's these overgrown walls. This old broken stonework are on full display atop fairly high hills. You arrive, we'll say, early in the morning when the sun is still blazing overhead. But 4 days have passed. A lot of the snow has melted. There's still occasionally a patch or two, but for the most part, you're seeing the green of the ground begin to rise up once more. You can see that all along the weathered hills to the north, they're going to trickle. You can see on the horizons a beautiful day for sight. There are ruins, forts, watchtowers, crumbled over time. As you pull off, the Great Ouse Road ventured northward a bit. The ruins of Weathertop or Amonsul, for those who might refer to it that way, Terraneth Irinil probably. You can see the ruins up there, and the two of you have probably been here before, as these types of locations are not uncommon for rangers to stop, leave communication for one another. There's also, all these little ruins around, sometimes little caches of supplies in emergency situations. So I would imagine the two of you have been here before. And the ruins are very much sort of stacked up like a crown atop the hill as you start moving towards it. When you look around, as you're ascending the hill a bit, there's very dark dells, and the hills themselves are a little slippery from the melted snow. As it's kind of a treacherous terrain, so you're moving sort of slowly up here and there. You notice that you are not the first to arrive. As you can see, what very much looks like a small encampment, not too far away from the ruins themselves, at the base of the ruins, where that broken stair kind of goes up into the circle. And you, from a distance, can see with great eyesight the company of Lady Aracel and her rangers, first to arrive, fairly close, and probably travel quite well. And you all are second. When you get up there, you can see that she kind of comes out of a tent. There's the camp. You can smell what sounds not so much breakfast, but food for the morning. People have scattered about. You can see a couple familiar faces. You see Vignator. He's come along. Irinial, you spent some time with Oriphen. He introduced you to somebody, a couple of the folks that be coming along. He couldn't come himself. It's just beyond his used years. But sure. Udil is sort of the name that he introduced you to as being kind of his second, so to speak. So those are names that you would notice. But there's probably about a dozen rangers in total that have been sent along. What do you all want to do as you arrive?
Tiara is expressing how happy she is to Aureliel and the rest of them that they sent such a strong force. She's very happy to see everybody here. Sorry, Floyd, I mean to cut you off.
And Vignator will greet you. Floyd will step up, extend an arm. Dwarf, looks like we beat you here.
Surprised to see you first. Thought we'd be the first ones here.
Well, you are the closest, but I guess your small little legs just couldn't move as quickly as ours, could they?
And he says it like with a grin, but at the same time, it is sort of shocking, as he wasn't really that type when you spoke to him before. But you can see he's laid back a bit, and he makes a little grin.
How long have you been? We have other allies coming.
We've just set up camp yesterday. We've not seen anyone yet. We heard word from Elra here and Eladin that they might be bringing a few folks, and I do emphasize few. That their father was not receptive to a larger force, but they would be coming themselves. They're very keen on seeing you lot again, helping with Miss Gilly. So they will be here shortly, I would imagine. They move very quickly and quietly. They do. What of your folk? What have you brought to Arthur?
Just us so far, but we have some from Tharbad coming up.
Not bad. I didn't realise dwarves were of in any abundance down in that city. I've passed through it once or twice, but it hasn't been quite recently. Thought that was mostly men.
There for work. We caught him at an interesting time.
I say. Fighters. Sturdy.
Quite sturdy. We've been up once.
Numbers.
Gilly nudges Taraneth as we're talking about Tharbad.
Kind of numbers
And
that we can
at the
expect.
nudge, Tara gets a little red.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Don't. And she turns to Daggett. Didn't you also? We sent communications to your brother.
I would not rely on him to show.
But at least his company is a few, perhaps.
I've heard no message back.
Oh,
Brother.
I don't presume if we would get return messages, but we did send a request in winter. They did say they would show. Fully, did we mail your family as well, or no?
I've sent messages.
Indeed. Well, I would expect then a very large fighting force of dwarves. I've heard that in large groups they can be quite terrifying.
Even three. We had Floy, Thorbum, and Thievi, and that's when we killed Rotag. And that was, I could tell you that story later if you'd like.
I very much would. There's a little bit, Miss Kettlegrass. I think we've got time for storytelling. I think we're going to be here for a little while. This folks
Gilly
must have-
tells the most amazing stories.
Well, I am excited to hear it. There's food if you would like it, if you're hungry. Lady Aracel, she's been taking a moment to. Well, this is a special place, is it not? So much history, so much sadness here. But she will, I'm sure, be very happy to see you. Although I doubt she will show it.
We'll settle in.
Is there anything that needs sending to that we can assist with?
Well, if you would like to, you have keen eyes, if I recall.
Yes.
And we've been setting up a scout rotation, if you'd like to participate. Keeping an eye on the roads to the south and whatever else we might see, if there's any dangers coming from the north. I'm sure we could learn a thing or two from keen-eyed Kettlegrass.
That's. And she just kind of perks up a little bit, and she, thank you, and will immediately kind of tend to her horse and then settle off to go find the rest of the scouts.
Okay. So, you guys all sort of fan out. We're gonna do like a kind of a series of sort of like a fortnight is basically how long this is probably gonna take. Is various people from different places to settle in. We see sort of a montage kind of begin to sort of happen here and there as you sit down with these rangers. You have moments of conversation. At one point, Gilly, Lady Aracel, somewhat surprisingly, maybe not the first night, but maybe the second or the third, sits down next to you. Like, I'm told that you're a scholar. Is that true?
Yes.
Indeed. I was not aware that your kind I had scholarship. I've learned something today. I'm curious, my dear. What do you know of this place?
Great question. What do I know?
You can roll a lore. There's a limit to what you probably know, but you can roll a lore, and depending on what you know, you'll get some stuff for sure.
Good.
Most of it from probably perusing the annals of old Oswald Breaker.
Oh yeah. Great success.
You would know that this place was a very. I would say we know two things. With the great success, I'd say you know two things. One, that it was a fort that goes back as long as the history of Arnor and these northern kingdoms, like into the founding. Like it goes back that far, and that it was somewhat like a center point of the kingdom. Which leads to the second point, that it became sort of a source of sort of a push and pull as that kind of lineage from Numenor and from Elendil kind of started to fade out here and there and break apart a bit, and that they kind of fought over it. And eventually it was so like the different successor kingdoms, Arthedain, like the different sons of who was it? Who was the other king? Erendor?
What was it?
I think. I'm trying to
Nuriel?
think.
Or
No.
No.
No, it's something else.
I'm reading something else.
King Erendor, I think, is the king who was like the last king of Arnor, and then it was sort of split up into like the three separate kingdoms.
Okay.
And then like there was definitely like angst about who was going to get this particular point. So that was probably what you would know, like those two things. Like it had that kind of like it has that kind of history, very, very old in terms of the realm of men.
Yeah, which Gilly would tell her, and she'd also, looking up at it, wouldn't it be lovely if we could return it to its former glory for your people?
I'm gonna help Daggett here, and Tolkien scholars, you can correct me on this, but Erendor was the last king of Arnor, and then it broke off into separate kingdoms. Arvedui was after, I want to say Argaleb tried to make a claim on like Cardalin and try to reform them. And that's where like Arvedui stems from. So like the original OG Arnor, like the last king was Erendor. I think that's right. So someone can look that up for me. If I'm wrong, don't tell me. Okay, so she looks at you and she's like, she says, Rangers are not one for building. Not anymore. We have stewardship, wardenship. But no, it's those people. And she kind of like nods in the west. Can't see Bree from here or anything like that, but she nods in that direction. You know where she's referring to. It's those who will... They're the ones who I think will build now. They'll determine it. But... it is a very, very curious place. Once held a very powerful artifact, seeing stone, Palantir sometimes it was called, and that in and of itself was, well, very glorious, so it's told. But you're not wrong. It was very much a divisive spot. I can't say I'm the most scholarly of my house, but I did pay attention. When Arnor did break, and the lines split, eventually it passed to Arthedain. There it was fortified for years. King Argaleb, well, he fortified it, but he was challenged by Rudauer and the Hillmen, who long since outnumbered Dunedain influence. They turned to Angmar, your foe, cast us aside. And he died here. And not exactly where, but I believe it is on the western slope. Or was it Arverleg now? I can't remember. But one of them died here, the hillmen. Many have died. The Witch King, at least that's what they were called, some have called. Very powerful creature who led the forces of Angmar, swept through. And they burned this place to the ground. Well, what they could, at least. Fortunately, the Seeing Stone it's not here. It's the only saving grace. They brought it to Fornost, and that too is a ruin. So much little hobbit up here. My people is in ruins. You all of Bree? Is that right?
Yes, from Bree.
I wonder, hundreds of years from now, what will be left of you?
It's a good thought to ponder. But I believe everyone does leave at least some touch of themselves behind, so I don't worry too much of it.
I suppose. Anyhow, I'm just an old woman lamenting her ancestors. You have many years ahead of you. You hobbit folk, you age at a peculiar rate, don't you?
Yes, and I am rather young for a hobbit as well.
Young on such grand adventures. Why do you risk yourself for these people here? Why do you risk yourselves for those within the walls of Bree who haven't lifted a finger to help anyone else? The dwarves toil away in their mines looking for riches. The elves, I know you said you expect them here, but outside of my dear friends Elro here and Eladin, I would say there won't be any others. Why do you risk yourself, your life for this when you have so much of it ahead of you?
It's the right thing to do. I saw this evil and I recognized it, and it's irresponsible of me to ignore it, so I refuse to do so.
Classic case of Ashley stops talking while Jeff is typing.
I was like, wait, what?
Classic case.
Yeah.
Add a dramatic pause to your speech at least.
Yeah.
An idealist. Very interesting. Is that a trait of your people, Miss Kettlegrass? Optimism?
I've learned it from my mother, certainly. Hope is important to have, and I do have hope that even if we light this way, that others will continue to see what we see and take up our fight. And it has spread. It has spread to you. It has spread to...
She's looking behind you. I don't see the party of Breelanders that are coming to assist in this.
Unfortunately, it hasn't spread there, but it will. Hopefully. I believe it will.
Well, maybe you'll be right. Maybe I will be right. We shall see. Time will tell. Now, I am going to get some rest. Because apparently you are due... We are due new numbers tomorrow. Yes?
Yes.
So she kind of drifts off at that point, wanders away. You can see she's very, morose. You can tell, something about this place is sort of weighing on her. And, I would say all of you to a certain degree, especially the Rangers, you can probably feel it too. It just feels...
Yeah.
Despite the sun being up, there's a bright, beautiful sun coming up every morning and setting every night. You just sort of feel this, sadness sort of pressing down on you. as this is a
We've
place
left
that
Bree, we've left Yule, and this is definitely a change in tone.
the next day, or maybe the day after that, you see a group of folk, a mixture of, we'll say, Gilly. Maybe you're on the scouting. You're on the scouting position for this.
Mm-hmm.
You see a mixture of folk. You see humans, dwarves, a troll. Maybe you're like, what the hell is that? And you see they're kind of haphazardly dressed. But as they get closer, you recognize a few of the colorings of like the bandit gear, the bandit guard gear of Tharbad. As you see, suddenly kind of trudging up the hill, coming up over this hilltop, right as like this gust of wind sends his hair just kind of off to the left. You see Thorvum kind of leading the pack. He looks very well kept, very clean. It looks like he has been shaving somewhat, dressed very nicely. And you can see that with him, he has brought several of his guard. Also in that same, they are less attractive than he is, but they are nonetheless here. Very exciting. You also see Thorvum and Thebe, and what looks like about, in total, maybe about a half dozen dwarves. You would presume the other crafters that were with them. As there's probably, in all, when you add it all together, somewhere between about 12 and 15 people that you see coming up over. And who you thought was a troll is, in fact, a man with the largest fists you've ever seen. You see Titus, these giant ham hocks, as they climb up. Next to you is Vignator, and he whispers, "Friends of yours?"
Yes! And Gilly ignores everyone else, and you see her as she hauls towards Titus and just leaps upon him.
And he reaches up and he tries to catch you, fumbles you a bit because he doesn't have delicate hands.
Yeah.
And the two of you just go kind of collapsing to the ground, like,
Careful, Miss Gilly. Careful, Miss Gilly. You're going to hurt yourself.
You told me that you weren't able to come.
Oh, I cleaned up my schedule.
I'm so thrilled.
The truth is, that old library woman, Angmar, came here, took one of my wooden spoons and whacked me on the head with it about 100 times every day for the past... How long's it been since I've seen you? 2 months? 3 months? However it is. Look at my head. Look at it.
And you can
I'm
see
so sorry.
There's just bruising all down the side of it.
She said, if I don't go up there and make sure that little Miss Kettledress comes back, and if I don't make sure that her brain and her mind stays intact, well, she's going to hit me with a spoon every single day until my brain turns to mush. And I told her, my brain's already partially mush. And she says, I don't care. I'll make it the rest of the way mush. And then, lo and behold, here I am.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. Come on. I gotta introduce you to people. And then Gilly will remember her manners at that point and then thank everyone else and be like, here, let me lead you to camp and introduce you all to everyone.
Okay. So you go around, you start introducing people.
She quickly finds Tara and like flags her over as she's like wiggling her eyebrows suggestively at her.
Titus? Oh my god, Titus! So good. And Tara runs up to Titus and gives him a big hug.
And Gilly is like pushing aggressively at Tara's hips towards where she should be going. No, get your man.
He has not seen anyone else yet. She's very excited to see Titus. Also, Tara's not particularly small. Like she's
I know. That's
big,
why I think
like,
you knocked him over.
Yeah, she's like a big, muscly kind of person. Like lithe is not how you would describe Tara.
So
broad is much more appropriate.
Somewhat shortly after he had gotten knocked to the ground by Gilly and trying not to drop her, you come and knock him like down again. Why is everyone knocking me down? I thought we were allies. Why do I get knocking down? And so he falls.
Oh, it's so good to see you, Dennis.
Elsewhere, we see as Thorvum and Thebe come up to Floy, Daggett, the rest of the dwarves kind of start huddling around. Like, aye, I said we'd come. And here we are. This is it.
Trust you.
This
How's
is the
travel?
rebel.
It was all right. The big one over there with the hair, he kept fussing about it every morning. I don't know what his deal is. He said, we gotta hustle. I've never moved so fast in my life than Davey and I. We ran all the way up to Angmar. We hustled the whole time, and he's like, hustle, we've got to go faster. We're gonna be late. God, my goodness, he's got a bug up his ass. Anyway, otherwise, it was fun.
Well, I'll admit I was a bit nervous, but now that there are a few dwarves with us, we might have some success on this expedition.
You're absolutely right. We got some brains and some brawn now. This is going to be a piece of cake. Not the first time a few of us have been up to Angmar. This guy, the newbie here, first time, is it?
He comes over, razzes you a bit, because you haven't been to anywhere, have you?
No, I haven't.
No, yeah. Okay.
I'll try to hold my own.
Oh, I'm sure you'll do just fine. With your big old block thong, whatever it is.
I just start patting it.
I named mine. This one here is called Red Tooth. What did you name yours, Davey? I'm gonna name mine Blue Molar.
Okay, I didn't name mine. It's written on the blade. Block Fong.
One other random dwarf's like, I think I'm gonna name mine Grain Canine. And it's just like this constant like razzing of they all come up with these silly names to just sort of razz you a little bit. And then finally we see Tharnau just sort of standing sort of off to the side as Tara, you get up and there's Tharnau. You can see in all his glory. He's much more dashing than you maybe remember him as he's cleaned up a bit. He's probably worked out over the winter a bit as he comes up to you. Were you where? I'm trying to remember. I think Floy invited him.
Yeah, I was the one that invited him.
Low,
No, because so Tara is not expecting to see Tharnau. Like she when they left Tharbad, she left a note with Titus to give to Tharnau. I have no idea if she made it to him. But I especially had no idea that he was going to be here. But the note did say that we could use his help if he wanted to join us.
So he will, seeing you run towards Titus, he will, with a dash of disappointment, go over towards Floy, shake his hand, and he'll say, "Thank you for the invite, Master Floy. Indeed we had. Not too late, I hope."
Just in time.
Excellent. I see you've already got a few of these renowned rangers on your side here. You picked a very interesting spot, you did, for the mustering.
We'll settle in. We've made preparations.
Are we waiting for more, or should we be on soon?
There might be a few more.
All right. We'll find a place then. I'm sure Titus will want to cook something up. He's been talking very, very often over the last few days about different things he'd like to cook. Constantly. He just won't shut up. He just keeps going and going aggressively about everything he wants to cook.
Quite a flapper on that guy.
I think he's got a problem, Mr. Flores. Let's just make sure we direct him in the right place.
It's at this point that Tara kind of looks over to see who Floy is talking to. Because he's much taller than a dwarf. And sees Tharnau.
Mm-hmm.
And Tharnau?
And he, yes, Miss Tara, it's very good to see you. Comes over.
Tharnau! She doesn't quite know how to greet him, so kind of starts to go in for a hug and then ends with that warrior shake.
Fist bump. Where did that come from?
Hey.
You fist bump, he high fives. It's just what's going on here.
What are you doing here?
Master Floy requested our assistance. He said you had a task of dire import and
Ah,
received message from Miss Kesselgrass over the winter. This is the mustering location. We are here. Lend aid. Show that Tharbad is ready to come back to the fold. We are good people. Some of us are good people. My father is not particularly happy that I have joined this, and Murdoch certainly. When I invited him, he laughed for 3 days consecutively. But some of us are very good people.
I'm very happy to see you.
And he, a little bit of color comes to his cheeks, but then as a way of breaking the tension, he's
Mr. Daggett, I say your nose has gotten even more crooked than last I saw it. What on earth has happened to you?
What happened to me? Why are you here? You came back for another beating? One wasn't enough?
I seem to remember that I was the one who won the last beating.
I must have hit you harder than you thought. Rattled something around in that head of yours?
Daggett, didn't we find you in the alley covered in garbage?
Go to give her a shove, but hit her a little too hard.
Titus has a hand behind Gilly, so she doesn't move at all.
And so you all just sort of spread out at that point. More camps. You see some tents go up, different campfires. The smell of food starts wafting through as Titus is very excited to share these new stew recipes he has with you. That part of his deal with Agna was that she was going to give him she found these ancient cookbooks that she's kind of giving over to him, things like that. So all of that
Tara does go up to Titus while he's cooking and say very quick, do you remember I gave you a note to give to Tharnell?
Right, I did. Yeah, I didn't give it to him though. I'm sorry. I dropped it in a stew.
Okay.
I tried to take it out and I tried to write it out again.
That's okay. That's
But-
okay.
I don't know how to write.
That's okay.
I read it though. I could tell it to him. You want me? I have it recited. If you want me to go recite it to him.
That's all right. That's okay. That's all right.
Over dinner, he just loudly just stands up and just starts to recite it without you even asking.
I thought you couldn't read.
I can't.
Then how did you read the note?
Miss Agna, she read it for me.
Oh no.
She
Everybody
she took the
around town
spoon
knows Tara's business.
and was whacking me on the head in the middle.
Everybody except Arna has read the note.
It became a bit of some sort of one of those what are those things called, like a minstrel type of thing. She almost kind of sang, beat on my head like it was a drum, and then she would read it, and then everyone would clap afterwards. So we thought it was like
Everyone.
performance
What? Oh,
There were a couple dozen people or so inside of the inn.
oh God.
Arnau was in the inn.
No, I don't think it was there. I saw some of his men were there, but I didn't see him.
Oh. Tara's very embarrassed and goes to go for it, Tharno.
So as she walks away, Titus turns to Gilly, and I know you didn't probably write this, but it's like,
What does yearning mean? What yearning? What does that mean?
It's just strong emotions of affection.
She fancies
got-
him.
Yes. Don't they look so dashing together?
I guess. It's fun. Never
I guess
quite,
I'm yearning for your stew right now.
Of course. Oh, here it is. Oh, look at it.
and she kind of looks around.
On our way up, we grabbed ourselves some turkeys. It's a turkey stew.
Kind of hands it over to you all.
At some point, Daggett would go up next to Floy. You notice Tara and Tharnau are acting strange. you think they've spent too much time in the sun?
Strange. They've been each other's company and thought about it. That's what I've heard.
They were together?
Well, yeah.
For how long? When did this happen? No one told me this.
Oh, I don't know the history.
Well, thanks for keeping me in the loop.
Oh, I thought you were best friends with them with that brawl at the bar.
Well, we didn't talk about women. We were just punching each other and punching orcs most of the time.
Understandable.
Floyd, do you have a woman?
Of course. Didn't I introduce you?
Oh, I forgot that night.
I've forgotten many more.
So we'll
Don't
say,
you also have a girlfriend, Daggett?
It was nothing official.
Oh,
Rural Gilly.
she'll kill you if she hears that.
I tried so hard in my head to justify somehow getting Floyd's fairy wife and Daggett's rustic Gilly girlfriend, but I just could not think of a reason that would. It was just strained so much credulity. I just couldn't see it happen. Okay, so we'll say the night progresses. We see reunions. We see introductions as some of the rangers are introduced to the folks from Tharbad. The dwarves are introduced to the rangers, etc. All of this kind of comes around. And like I said, this is all kind of happening over the course of like a fortnight. As you guys are here, there's plenty of time to talk with folks. But as we kind of progress it a bit, a day or two passes. The camp has spread and grown. You've seen some traffic on the road, but it's not always people coming into your camp. Sometimes it's, you can see there's merchants that are traveling here and there. Sometimes you can see that there's animal crossings where you see just these packs of creatures. More than once, you've heard like howls in the distance to suggest that there might be wargs or wolves somewhere. So those of you that are actually taking up scouting positions or scouting posts, like it's not just, summer camp. You are making sure that things are, you're staying on alert. And the bigger your group is growing, the more noise you're making, the easier it is to see. Like stealth is really not as much as an option for you. But after a few days where it was getting a little bit odd as no one else was showing, and it was starting to feel like there might not be, any more, you all awake, and somehow there are in your camp, beyond the range of scouts, that sort of exterior that we're keeping an eye on who comes into this area. There is, when you look up, you notice that there are several elves that just are standing off to the side here and there, stepping into shadows. You can see that they are all dressed in what look to be armor. They look like they're going to war. You see that there is like a very familiar crest that some of you have seen, Floyd and Gilly and Irinial. You see the crest of Forlon, Lady Ortolos, and you recognize two faces standing before you. You see Amdarim, who was sort of the unofficial second to Lady Ortolos, and you see a group of heavily armored wardens, guards of some kind. And as one of them removes their helmet, you see the face of Balavan. And he seems to have brought some of them with you. There's 6 elves in total. You can see that there are 4 of, counting Balavan in this heavy armor, and Amdarim in a second, that are kind of in lighter gear, but all are equipped and ready to go for war. Amdarim steps forward and is the one who speaks. He goes up to those he recognizes, Irinial and Floy and Gilly. He says to you, "We come to help. We come with grave tidings, I'm afraid. The arrows of Forland, Lady Ortolos, they are wasting even more than they have in the past. Our minds plagued by mistaken memories. Many a time I've caught her staring off into the distance, not to the west, but northward. We come because I am in some state to be of help. Balavan as well. Now, I want to get a point of clarification amongst the group. Do they know that something befell Sorendir? Would you all have messaged them?
I think Gelly would have written a letter.
And you see then Balavan will step forward. And if there can be anger shown on an Elvis face, you probably see it there.
Mm-hmm.
And I have come because my friend Sorendir was left behind. And he kind of says it in a somewhat accusatory manner.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean to retrieve him.
And Gilly doesn't refute it at all. She does take the
Not the only one. I didn't
Looks
expect you
down
to
at you.
show from the help. We didn't help you much. Happy to see you here.
I am not here for you, Master Floy. I am here because there needs to be someone here who puts Sorendir's interests above their own. That is what I will do. And if our tasks are entwined, so be it.
We are nonetheless grateful for your presence. We have, all of us, spent many a moment with regret for what had passed.
Turns to you. How long has it been since my once friend was left behind in that icy wasteland? How many moments have you spent? Because I think it has been, for your kind, quite some time. And only now are you aiming to do anything about it.
When one has a large task ahead, time is required for preparation. One cannot always do what one wants to do or what one feels should come first. You do not have to believe what is in my heart. We will fight alongside nonetheless.
Takes his helmet, puts it back on. You are right. I do not believe you for anything. And he and his kind, like the guys that are actually heavily armored, will turn and they will move off and find their own space. Andrim will remain for a second. Do not mind him. His feelings towards Sorendir are very complicated. They left on better terms, and I am not sure if that has made Sorendir's disappearance easier or more difficult for him to handle. But we thank you for the notification, Miss Skittlegrass. Lady
I'm sorry I
Ortolos.
couldn't deliver it in person.
Of course. Lady Ortolos is still very invested in your tasks ahead and greatly, truly thanks you for all the efforts that you have put forth for every elf of Forlond. And although Balavan's anger is fierce, you have our thanks and our regret that more could not be sent in aid. If anyone, any of us, should be lamenting the time between action, inaction, and reaction, it is not you all, but us. We had plenty of time, and we let it waste. But we are here to help you.
Is not wrong.
Well, I think he might be. Do not be so hard on yourself. I did not know Sorendir well, but he struck me as an elf who would not be dissuaded from what he set his mind to do. In the way that Miss Kettlegrass told it, it was a decision that he made, not one that you all did.
This is true. I do owe Balavan an apology, but the words just don't come.
We wish we had tied him up when we made camp so he couldn't have walked away, to be honest.
He laughs a bit, very softly. Well, that might have had some effectiveness, I would imagine. Do not apologize to Balavan. In words, help him. And that will be enough. He is a man who forgives. It might take him a very long time, but he will. So, at that point, we see the elves kind of split off. Again, more introductions. You bring Andarim and even Balavan to meet Lady. You meet to meet Vignator and Lady Arasil. Introductions are made to the dwarves from Darbad to Thorvum, to Thebe, to Tharnau. There's a lot of TH names from Tharbad. Totally unintentional. But now that I think about it, makes a lot of sense. There's a T in their name. They're from Tharbad. Done. And some time passes. More days pass again. And I would say you're kind of giving it a fortnight. You're giving it 2 weeks to see if more would come. And then one morning, a foggy one, in fact, after a rainy night, a rainy early AM, you all see, not coming up the road as much as coming up over the hill, and not from southwest of you, but in fact, sort of northwestish, as you see from a distance and not hidden even in the slightest, and maybe you even hear them first because they are extraordinarily loud, but you hear the chanting as dwarves show in the morning sun, armor glistening with water. It's a sight to behold, but at the same time, it is a mismatched group, as they do not all carry a singular crest. They do not all seem to wear the same gear. And we see trudging up the slopes, being given pause for a moment from some of the scouts. We see some familiar faces, not those from the halls of Gladrock, but we see some of the Oathbreaker dwarves, led by an older kind of fair-haired dwarf who you all would know by the name of Rollin. And there's what looks to be about 10 dwarves in this little retinue. And he removes this helm, and you can see this sort of blonde gray hair unfurl. He's got some braids here and there, but otherwise it's fairly wild. He's got his beard, and he looks around and he says, "I heard there was a gathering going on here, and I see there's some dwarves, so clearly it's a gathering of fine folk. Perhaps there's room for more."
It's good to see you. I'm
Oh,
glad you made the
Daggett.
long trip.
I promised it, didn't I? You helped us. We helped you. Simple, easy. A dwarf is as good as his word. And they don't call us the Oathbreakers for nothing. And he kind of laughs and grins at that as he thinks about the joke. Oh, so that's what that means. Master Floy, how are you?
Cousin.
I must say, I don't see quite many dwarves from the halls of Gladrock, do we? Oh, isn't that embarrassing for you? Isn't
You got
it?
me there. Not much fight, is there?
Oh, bankers, I would imagine. Lore masters and those kinds, yes?
The many, yeah.
Oh, don't be embarrassed. Everyone's embarrassed of their families. And as you guys are talking, you see the other dwarves from Tharbad, Thorvum and Thievey come up. You see like the classic dwarf, like it's like they are all just old friends. Like they don't know each other, but they act like old friends. What are you doing? From the Dudland? You've been in the Dudland. You're just way up towards the north. What are you gonna freeze your tails off up there? What's wrong with you? And they're just like constant harassing back and forth, like it's like, don't want to live in the blue mountain. Don't want to live in the blue mountain, and back and forth. And then you can see stepping forth from the group that just came and kind of removing a helm and coming up to you, Daggett. You see the face of your brother. You see Snagit. Hello, brother. Room for one more.
Of course. Always.
You look, you look fucking hideous. What happened to your face?
I tried to fix it and it adds character, doesn't it?
I think you've got enough of it, to be honest.
It's all right. I already got a girlfriend in Mitchell Delving, so
In this Shire?
it's a long story. I'm just saying, I must be attractive still. Still better looking than you.
I don't know about that. Let's not go crazy, yeah? And if it's a long story, well, I think we've got some time.
It looks like we do.
Good. And he kind of hesitates. He looks a little uncertain. He's not in charge anymore, you've noticed. You can tell everyone, it's Rollin, for certainty. And he seems just to be kind of one of the dwarves. He's just one of the guys. He's not he doesn't give any directions. There's packs that are being carried. There's supplies. He is fetching, helping, this and that. You see, he's like, we'll speak later. And he kind of runs off, and you see him just doing these menial tasks and things like that, humble things that he might not have done in the past as he starts moving about. And then some time passes. We see a few more days, and at a certain point, Lady Arasil, you can see she's growing impatient. She's like, there's a storm front on the horizon. And my feeling, if this is a year's past, if we linger here much longer, then that storm front will turn into another. We'll turn into another. And soon we'll be, this entire hillside will be one slippery mess, and we'll be down in one of the dells, in a bog of our own creation. If we don't leave soon, we might not leave till summer.
It's best we get a move on. the last group from the farthest part we know have arrived.
Indeed. And so we close on what looks like a group of, like there's a fairly large tent. And so we'll say the group of you, we see some other very familiar faces. We see Lady Arisil, we see Vignator, we see Andarim, we see Balavan, we see Thorvum maybe, and Thebe, Rollin from the Oathbreakers. We see all of you kind of huddling around this flat stone. We've got unfurled maps that Gilly brought from Oswald's library, that Lady Aerosol brought from her own collection, that Thar now is able to coax out of old Agna, and sort of planning out your routes. Discussion kind of goes deep into the night when finally you guys hear just a little, "They've got company, riders." And you guys look out and you see kind of coming up, there's a handful of these beautiful steeds, like these sort of white, off-white colored horses that are far bigger than any of your ponies. And you see what looks like this very ornate and very just beautifully crafted armor, elvish make. And you see the twins, Elrohir and Eladin, riding up. You see behind them 2 more elves are in procession behind them, but not in any way that seemed as, they seem a little bit more loose. There's not many. And they kind of hop off their horses and they kind of step in like, "Oh, I'm glad we didn't get left behind. Sorry for the wait. Unfortunately, our father is very long-winded at times." As all of you gather around the table, make introductions, shake hands, and begin to plan your journey northward for the final time. We'll end there. We'll pick up on that next week as the allies have been mustered.
Oh,
man.
goodness.
I know we didn't do anything stressful, but now that we have everybody here, I am so stressed out.
I typed
Me
it out in
too.
chat, and I think a few of you, I think
know.
a couple of you are catching on. You guys, there's a lot of familiar faces, and I can tell you that they're not all coming back.
No.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I gotta
I
figure out how Tara feels about Thar having.
Yeah, you got plenty of time for that. We got our journey phase next time, which we're going to do like normal, but it'll be a little bit different since it's a much bigger party. Like, we'll do the normal rolls and things like that, but like it's a much bigger party as you're like 50 something strong at this point, like trekking up to Angmar. You have a pretty decent grouping here, a host, as you're traveling. So yeah, and then when we get to Angmar, there's gonna be tasks. Like, there's some tasks we know, and then there's some tasks you don't necessarily know, and things like that. And we'll go from there. But the end is in sight as the allies have come together.
Slowly
Should
rolling
take
in all
bets.
the callbacks and everything.
No,
Is
I
what I was
don't
doing.
like that.
I was trying to get a couple callbacks in too. I know it's a little
Yes.
self-indulgent, but whatever.
Oh,
But
this
like,
is so weird. Are you kidding me?
yeah, like the Forsaken. I wanted to get the Forsaken in. So I'm not sure if you remember this, Gilly. So maybe my memories is different, but I remember someone trying. I thought it was Gilly, but I guess it could have been Airy. But I think it was Gilly. Someone tried to heal
healing
him, and it went horrifically. I think like a Sauron popped up or something, and I just remember it like it went really bad. Like, and so that's where that.
Yeah, because he was in the kitchen. So Gilead had all of this like dirty kitchen equipment. So she had this like nasty rag that she had
Oh,
used.
no.
It was so bad.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I remember. Yeah, exactly. So so it's like I feel like Buckle and Titus are two sides of the same coin. Like Titus is if things
Amazing.
went well, and Buckles if things went bad. Like, that's kind of essentially what it is. So, and I thought about Snagit, but I thought it'd be nice to bring Snagit back so I can get that armband that you owe me.
That's what I said in chat. I got to give it back to him now.
Of course you do. Of course you
Hand
do.
it over to Snagit.
And then he'll give it back to Sorendir when you guys discover that Sorendir's totally fine. He's totally fine.
And I'll get to
He
play two
hung
characters
out.
at once.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing with Sorendir is what you guys don't realize is he is actually the big bad. He wanted to stay behind because he got that whole kingdom to himself now. Wouldn't that be crazy? Wouldn't that be bonkers?
Long-term plan.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh
Yep.
gosh.
You found him in Angmar for a reason.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Well, technically, I think we were in root hour, but close enough. Close enough. All right. So that is it for this week. We've got. So we're going to do Journey next week. Well, I mean, I don't imagine the Journey is going to take the whole session. So we might begin the sort of the planning. Where are you sending people to, this and that? So there's going to be tasks and things. So it's going to be a little RTS-y in some way. You have a bunch of resources at your disposal. And yeah, we'll go from there.
Oh my gosh, it's getting so close.
It is. It's getting really close. Like it's where that was 62. I was thinking that at the very latest would probably be 75 would be, I thought we might make it to 75. I'm not sure now. We might just make it to 70, but I still think we got a good month or two. So.
Oh gosh, that's
Yeah.
that's a small number.
I mean, it was 62. So I don't know. I think 2 months is, because like I'm trying to account for the fact that there's probably going to be some fights and those battles can kind of go on a really long time. And so even though not a lot of time passes in the campaign, like the combats can sometimes, especially against tougher foes, which you obviously will be engaged with. Then yeah.
It'll be a great time either way.
Yeah,
Hopefully. Whatever it is.
So let's go ahead and do some closing
and sad
plugs.
Great, but and sad.
Maybe. I don't know.
Lots of sad.
You guys ever watch the end of Return of the King and just bawl your eyes out? Like,
Yes, Jeff. That is absolute. Yes.
Remember when you were just sending us sad
Sam.
clips for us to just cry? Yeah.
Sam.
I remember.
It's the old wound. It's never healed.
God. Stop it. Stop.
There will be no
Gandalf
bets.
saying-
No bets will be done.
Gandalf turning around. Frodo. And then Sam's face. Whoa, you're leaving? What the fuck? That's not what he says, but like, yeah, it's pretty awful. Terrible. All right. So let's I might be spoiling Return of the King finale for people, but you've had a very long time. So there you go.
Only about 20 years, Jeff.
What
Okay.
is the statute of limitation on spoilers?
I mean, like, you also could have read the books and everything too. Or whatever. Yeah. Okay, so let's get out of here. So what do we got coming up? Monday, Call of Cthulhu, Horror on the Orient Express. Tuesday, Steven, what do we got?
Playing more Forbidden Lands. Jeff's going to be there. Melissa's going to be there. They're going to try and get out of this dungeon that they are lost in. And they're going to become fast friends with a nice, furry, cute otter.
No. So one of those is accurate. After that, we've got Thursdays. We're playing Die, the role-playing game, Fantasy Heartbreaker from Rowan, Rook, and Descartes. As very, very fun. Melissa and I are in that, and you can see folks like Jeremy and Aaron, Kipser, and Evan has hopped in. If you watched our Twilight Imperium game, he hopped into that game as well. So very excited. It's a really, really fun, wild game. Friday next week would normally be Conan, but early birthday wishes to our pal Aaron. So we're not going to be doing Conan as he's got some birthday plans. We're going to sort something else out instead, though. I don't know what yet. And then we'll be back on Saturday for this. If you have not followed the channel, please do. We would very much love that if you did that. And if you could also go over to YouTube and look for the Adventures in Lollygagging, drop a subscribe there, that kind of stuff. And if you really don't like seeing our faces, don't forget that we also have podcast feeds of most of our games. And you can kind of look for that wherever you get your podcasts. So we're going to go ahead and raid Boys from the Baltic Star, as we so often do on Saturdays, as they are playing a game. I don't know what game because I can't see it on their overlay, but they are playing a game. Or they could be doing taxes. I'm not really sure. Thanks everyone out tonight. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.